This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
Now it's time for Spiritual Learning with Priestess Lily.
Welcome to my radio show, Priestess Lily, Sacred Heart Healer, Space Holder and Spiritual Life Coach. Hi, I'm Priestess Lily. Welcome. This radio show podcast I have created is to help assist humanities rise their consciousness through connection and holding space for thought-activating conversations with heart-centered leaders, wisdom keepers, divine humans expanding into their authenticity and soul purpose. So I have to tell you this little story. Today, I got flowers. It wasn't my birthday or anything special. We had our first argument last night. He said a lot of cruel things to me that really hurt me. I know he was sorry and he didn't mean things, he said, because I got flowers today. I got flowers today. It wasn't our anniversary or any other special day. Last night he threw me up against the wall and started to choke me. It seemed like a nightmare where I wanted to leave my body. I couldn't believe it was real. I woke up this morning, sore, bruised, all over. I know he must be sorry because he sent me flowers today. Today, I got flowers. It wasn't Mother's Day or any other special day. Last night, he beat me up again and again, and it was so much worse than any other times before. If I leave him, what will I do? How will I take my kids? What about the money? I'm afraid of him, and that absolutely scares me. But I know he must be sorry because I got flowers today. Today, I got flowers. Today was a very special day. It was the day of my funeral. Last night, he finally killed me. He beat me to death. If only I had enough courage and strength to leave him, I wouldn't have received flowers today. Some people don't get to survive domestic violence to share their story. They become a statistic. 230 family violence deaths were recorded in New Zealand between 2009 and 2017, and simply New Zealand, that's actually not good enough. Speaking from a space and place that worked in this field for many years at South Canterbury Women's Refuge, plus victim support as a trained counsellor alongside the New Zealand Police, plus my own personal journey in this area in my first marriage, it's made me want to speak to women holding space today in this area. And for me, this is a podcast that's been longing in my heart for months, for many reasons. Firstly, we've just come out of lockdown. And the reality is domestic violence is on the rise, and the pressures in our families right now is absolutely polarising. And we never ever speak to this. Society has an illusion that this is a minority problem or a race problem, but it actually isn't. Different people from all walks of life, and today I'm here to break down the beliefs and the illusion as it's in 1 in 3 homes in New Zealand. 1 in 3 homes. It's actually happening in your street. Which leads me today to my beautiful, phenomenal guest, Heather. Heather is from the Christchurch Aunties, doing absolutely phenomenal work in this area. Heather grew up in Christchurch, has lived overseas and in Wellington for a while. She lives with her husband and 2 children. Her work is so diverse. She's worked in an aquarium, in a zoo, museums, has owned her own marketing company, and in the non-profit sector for 10 years. She's been a ballet teacher. She's also worked in the He Waka Tapu, developing a program similar to the Christchurch Aunties. She's a photographer, doing expedition work, storytelling, non-commercial type of stuff that really bloody matters. In her spare time, she enjoys gardening and playing with Lego. And currently, girls, listen to this, she is building a Ghostbusters vehicle. So welcome, Heather.
Thanks. I feel that after that introduction, you've kind of said everything. I can maybe go home.
No.
That's amazing. That was a powerful introduction. Those words, thank you so much. And that poem, wow, really reflecting on things when you read that out.
Well, I'm not here to piss around.
No, nice.
The reality is we need to start waking up.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Heather, I received from my brother-in-law a book written by Jackie Clark's book, Her Say, for my birthday this year. And at that time, I wasn't actually aware of the Christchurch Aunties or the Aunties organisation in general. And I started to Google and was very impressed by the work that you do here in Christchurch. So tell our listeners about the Christchurch Aunties.
Yeah, okay. So you mentioned Jackie Clark up in Auckland just before, and she planted the seed. So Jackie does fantastic work up there, and she's been working up there in this area for, maybe 5, 6, 7 years now. And she started it gently and organically, and it was actually through Twitter. Twitter can have a good side to it, and this was one of the good sides to it, that I met Jackie. So I met Jackie on Twitter, and I volunteered to send some things up that she needed. But she said, no, hold off, because there's actually a wahine coming down who needs those things down to Christchurch. And so that's actually how it all started. It starts with one person, and I think some of the biggest things just start with one person and one idea. And so the Christchurch Aunties today, how it looks is we work with about 15 to 16 different organisations. That fluctuates. Sometimes it's more around Christmas time. And the kaimahi and staff at those organisations tell us what they need for their clients and for their whaiora. And we go out to all our networks and to the beautiful Christchurch Aunties community out there, and we get the stuff and then we deliver it. And that might be toiletries, it might be a security camera, it might be furniture for a woman who's moving into a new home after leaving a safe house. It might be Christmas gifts. During lockdown, it was certainly games and toys. Although we don't normally do games and toys. And so we just connect with the community and we connect with the organisations, and we're almost like the go-between. And we do meet clients in whaiora when we're delivering things, and we do get to hear their stories. And we also get to hear the stories from the community as we do our work as well. But we didn't start working with just 15 to 16 organisations. We've really grown in the last few years as we've seen the support in the community grow. We've been able to support more organisations. So it's a bit of a balancing act. But yeah, at the beginning it just started with one person, and then it started with, then following on from that it was I was supporting Better Women's Trust and Te Whare Hora, and then it just grew and grew and grew, and like this beautiful organic flower blooming. And yeah, that's how we work. There's a board, and I have amazing volunteers who help out, and an amazing space that we work from, and fantastic energy, really.
And I love that. It's all, that's so important. And that's how most things do start. You know, one person with an idea connect to the right people and build a community.
Yep. And yes, it's hard work. It's really hard work. It's physical work as well. We're moving furniture, and it is tiring, and I don't always get paid, and it can be emotionally exhausting. But actually, the way it's all unfolded is quite seamless and easy, and the universe is just every single time. Oh, the coincidences are incredible. We need something, we're not sure. And then within half an hour, someone might say, oh, yeah, I've got that. It's just uncanny, not even when we put the word out. Actually, last week was a really good example of that. We don't normally accept curtains. We don't have a need for them. And we have to be careful about what we take, because storage is, we have to be careful with how much we can store. And so we don't, as a rule, we don't accept curtains. And someone, one of the refuges actually, asked if we had any for a woman who'd just moved into a new home. And I hadn't responded yet because I was doing other bits and pieces. And then half an hour later, through our Facebook page, which is how most of our aunties community get in touch with us about donating, someone said, oh, I've got these really great curtains. Do you want them? And it's just funny how it works. And I went, yep. And we picked them up on the weekend, and I'll be delivering them tomorrow. So, yeah. And that's curtains that seem small, but I know her place is really cold and she needs some decent curtains up. So, yeah, we're there to help.
Divine timing. Yeah.
All the time.
Divine intervention.
Yep. And even geographically, it's interesting. You mentioned before about how it's not just family violence isn't confined to one demographic. And in Christchurch, our suburbs, we can work in little silos in our suburbs. Christchurch is just how Christchurch is. That's for lots of different reasons. And we deliver all over the place. We've delivered furniture to Maryvale. We've delivered furniture and donations to Kashmir. And one interesting coincidence in Kashmir was I was picking up a bed and a coffee table, and they actually only went probably about 500 metres away to their new home. And neither of these people knew, the person receiving the donations and the person donating, they didn't know. But it's within neighbourhoods as well. And, it's quite useful for us because that was a really easy shift.
Yeah.
But yeah, all through Christchurch, it's not just an east versus west thing. It happens everywhere. 1 in 3 homes. Yes, and we really hear it, particularly around Christmas when we have our Christmas present campaign, and we have a lot of people dropping gifts off to our drop-off points around the city. And one of our main drop-off points is Rita and Matt at Casino Court Motor Lodge. And so she welcomes, Rita's amazing. She's our chairperson, and she welcomes all the people with their donations and their presents for the tamariki and the wahine. And she says often that that's the time when she hears the stories from the people donating. Mm-hmm. And we don't actually have to communicate a lot about the horrible things going on out there, because for a lot of our aunties, Christchurch Aunties community who are donating and sharing our information, it's been their story in the past as well. Regularly, people will be saying, oh, yeah, I'm helping my neighbour through the court system at the moment, or my sister went through this 10 years ago, or I remember growing up in this environment and I just want to give back. What's particularly beautiful about those people who are donating is that it doesn't come from a place of victimhood. It's very much right, there's a job to do, I know how it feels, I can do this, this is my part, and just becoming this part of this beautiful network with us. That's great. They have some insight.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. We have forgotten the value of giving. In today's society, you know, we have forgotten when someone's really in need, and I really saw this in the weekend with one of my clients. We actually don't realise how our gifts and our presence and our soul and just holding that space, whatever that is, how much we're actually giving someone, you know, time, energy, listening. And, you know, it doesn't always have to be a physical something.
Absolutely not. That's a big deal for us as well, because there are a lot of people in the Christchurch Aunties community from all different backgrounds. Sometimes we need physical things. Sometimes we need cash in the bank. But all the time we need people to support us through words. We love it when people say, hey, great job, and really love your work, love what you're doing. It makes a real difference to us, those words, and just checking in with us. Yeah, so that's really lovely. It doesn't have to be a financial thing. It is just about being present, or just even sharing information about us, telling a friend, telling a family member about us, and someone's moving out, so they've got extra furniture, or someone's going to the supermarket and they can get some toiletries. Yeah, so we saw post-quake that Christchurch people wanted to help, and New Zealanders in general. There was this big swell of support, and that was beautiful. And we got to see that while we saw some horrific things, we also saw that the good in people. And I think gave us all a little lift that there's all this kindness. And New Zealand does that well in times of need. But then I think people felt reluctant, or they forgot quickly how to help, or that maybe they needed permission again to help. And it's just a little bit reticent. So what we do is we give permission to help, and we're really specific. I'm particularly bossy in advising people how they can help us, and that's what we direct. We tell people how they can help us, and when we need that help, and what it looks like, and when we need it by, and who they can share it with. We're really, really specific. We're really direct, and I think people appreciate that, because people do want to help. They're not sure how, especially if it's not in their neighbourhood, and if it's not in their kind of safe zone where they normally work. They need permission. They need to know that it's okay. And so we give them that permission and reassure them. Huge part of our job is, that is a little bit unspoken actually, is gently educating the wider community on how to donate on a practical level, on a grassroots level, how to donate usefully. Their things, what it looks like, what it doesn't look like.
That's important.
And just how to support organisations like us in a really functional way that doesn't have to involve cash. So we also do that. That's a big part of our job, but we do that just quietly and gently, and that's been really encouraging, because the community out there, we get all the warm fuzzies. The Christchurch community out there, the Christchurch Aunties community, is amazing. It's you said, not sure people have forgotten how to give. Yes, but I get to see all the good side of all these beautiful people donating and sharing, so I feel quite lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember that when I did my, I'm not sure what I'd call it, community post for Kaikoura. It blew me out of the water. Yeah, that was next level. And I think that's the thing. People need permission. People want to help, but they don't know where to go, or how to, they feel like they don't know what that looks like.
Yep.
The minute you say, this is what I need, there's the response.
Yep.
So what you said before that, and I get this, you said before that you don't always get paid. So what keeps you called and connected to this work? Because that's a big thing. Because if we really got paid for the hours that we did to show up, minimum wage, and, wouldn't even cut it. So what keeps you connected? What keeps you there? Because you've got a husband and 2 kids. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you'll be doing more than 40 hours a week.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so I'm doing this, and I've also been working for the last year at He Wakatapu building a similar program, but for tāne. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same but different area. So yes, I'm busy. I am an active relaxer. And I've been asked that before, and it does actually stump me a little bit. What keeps me going? I think it's a giant jigsaw puzzle of pieces of my personality and the way I was raised and, my strong points and my weak points. So my parents were a police officer and a nurse, so I kind of grew up always with that service. You know, you're out in the community and you're supporting people all the time. So I guess I grew up with that, and my sister was a nurse. And then I always worked in the not-for-profit sector, whether it was in the arts community or the aquarium / museums, zoo. And it's the space that I know particularly well. It just feels right. I could not do a job, and I've tried every now and then, done a job where what the mahi is doesn't resonate with my values, and I cannot do it. I just cannot do it. And people can read me like a book. They know that I can't do it. If I'm very capable, I know what it is to create a whole, charitable trust and all the workload. But when it comes to doing work that just doesn't go with my values, I see ethical issues. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I'm so glad you spoke to that, because that makes complete sense to me, because it's actually your sole purpose.
Yes. And yet, interestingly, it's, not something that I'm trained in, but all the roles that I've had in the past have led me to this point. The marketing and the communications is essential to very carefully look after our brand and to make sure that our messages go out carefully and to make sure that everything is clear and concise and that we build those relationships with the organisations properly. There's such a huge level of trust involved. The whole thing is based on trust. And that's where things like social media and marketing and communications can be used for good.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad you said that, because here's the thing. When I was 20-something, I've done many different roles. What activated me into the counselling area was actually my marriage, my first marriage. Then that led me to my counselling, which still I wasn't owning my spirituality and my gift, which has then led me to something else. But, it's consistently. The journey might take you a little bit to get to the bigger picture, but along the way, all of everything that you know and all the jobs and conversations and things are actually part of the bigger picture. So when you get to where you're meant to be at a sole purpose or who you're actually meant to serve, it feels so right.
It just clicks.
It just and that's what you talked about. It flows.
Yep, it just flows. Things just happen, and it's still work. It's work, but
doesn't feel like work.
And that's such a cliche, but it's true, isn't it? And even things like, the whole ballet training and background. Nobody likes public speaking. Nobody likes getting up on a stage except a very small percentage of the population. But that whole ballet training, I'll get up on a stage. I'll talk to a group of people. I can take myself out of that situation and just present and get over myself. And even that,
Because if you hadn't have done that, you probably wouldn't want to come here and do this.
No, I'd be quite nervous. I was quite relaxed. I mean, I haven't had a coffee. That may be reflected later. But yeah, it's that calling is an interesting thing, because there is so much pressure, and I see this with my children. There's so much pressure to decide what you want to do when you grow up. And it was a bit of a joke with me that even in the last 5 years I kept saying, I don't really know what I want to do when I grow up. I started studying photography quite late, in my late late 30s. And I mean, that's a huge passion of mine, but I don't really do my photography unless there's a message or a clear point to it, unless there's a bit of a feminist theme going on, or unless it's recording something that's happened in Christchurch, because I wanted to tell stories. And I have to say, this also connects in with what we're doing right now, is storytelling will save the world. It's the stories that will save us. It's the stories that I use that motivate people to be a part of the Christchurch Aunties. If I shared all the stories that I know, which we can't share all the stories, I think we'd be millionaires, because the stories are eye-opening. Just last week, one of the organisations we work with, one of the staff there, who I know has seen a lot, she said that she's seen the worst case that day that she's ever seen in her career. And I can't even imagine what that must look like. Which is why we also work to relieve the mental load from the staff as well, because the work that they do is just amazing. Well, you know, you've seen it yourself.
And I think that's so important. And this is our work actually picks us. We don't pick it. Just food for thought.
That's funny. Yeah, that's going to get me thinking.
I know. I'm an activator. I'll own it. So I think there's also this perception that domestic violence, looks like physical or sexual harm. But it doesn't always look like that.
No. It doesn't always look like a man beating up his wife.
No.
Either. We've actually, I remember a few years ago, one of the refuges asked us for some help with one of their clients who they were very worried about. And she'd actually been, she had been physically abused by her children, adult children. And so we were able to give her a bit of a breakaway and hand her for a couple of nights by just putting the call out for some money into her account. And that was incredible. And so it doesn't always look like the images we see on the TV or in the movies. Yes, the violence is a part of it for many, but there is the non-violent parts which are very damaging. The manipulation, the financial, withholding finances is a big one as well. The emotional abuse, and that also keeps people in the home where they don't want to be anymore, just like the physical violence does. You know, a woman might be stuck in the home because for 20 years she's been told she's useless and she's not going to be able to do anything. And so she believes that, and so she can't leave. So she is still a prisoner, as much as if he'd been threatening to kill her if she leaves. Yeah.
It's interesting because until I studied women's instill, I worked at Women's Refuge. I had, and so we're talking, I would have been 28, 29. So we're talking a good 12, 13 years ago. I had an idea what domestic violence looked like because that's my perception of what had been painted in media, in what I was, around. Not until I went to work at Women's Refuge and really started to get, prior to Women's Refuge, I was studying to be a counsellor, and I had to get 40 hours of counselling or 50 hours of counselling, did I actually really learn that my marriage, I thought that when it was the physical, when I left, but actually it was 7 years prior. It was the name calling, the financial abuse, the putting down, no one else will love you, the mind games, the manipulation, the feeling guilty, I didn't work at that stage, so his income was we didn't have an issue with money, and so, but it was a form of control. But it was really interesting that for me, and I married when I was 23, can't remember now, seems so long ago. And, so for 7 years, I had already been part of the power and control wheel, but it was the physical touch that was the, breaking point. But I didn't realise actually it was the warning bells were like boom, 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 like, it'd been ongoing for like the last 7 years because no one speaks to that.
No, they don't. And what you're saying is going to resonate with a lot of people out there. A lot of people. It's just not kind.
No, and just for me, like just thinking here now, and I don't think I've ever spoken to this, it was controlling around my friendships, how I was showing up, who I could talk to, what I couldn't say. He would take the car keys. So because I lived in Hamden, Meraki, he'd take the car keys to fishing on a boat where I couldn't, I was isolated at home.
Very isolated.
Yeah. And so I was always isolated. I felt that level. So even if I wanted to leave, which I did, girls, it was like I couldn't,
Yeah.
It was real restricted.
Yep. And also you weren't being hit, so why would you leave?
That's right.
Because that's on the TV, that's what we see.
That's what we saw. And so for me, outside looking in, I had 2 businesses. Everything looked amazing. Everything looked amazing. 2-storied house that had been in the House and Garden magazine. But inside those 4 walls, girls, I was broken. Yeah. And what kept me sane was actually my spirituality, was my connection to my nana. And most nights I would cry. And I actually, if I'm really, really deeply honest here, sitting here right now, I remember sitting there going, when I was at my deepest time, I remember sitting there going, I was actually suicidal. And because in my belief system, marriage was forever.
Yep.
Everyone I reached out to was like, what has she got to whinge about?
Yep.
And so I was like in a real, to everyone else, he was the perfect bloody ideal man that was this, what has she got to whinge about? She's got money to spend.
Everything looks great and he's so charming.
Yeah, looks good. Peel behind the walls. It's all shit. It's all cracked.
Yes.
Yeah. And so how I got out was I did some serious manifesting, sisters. I actually wrote it. I just left. Knew our house was going to be sold. Had him believing I was moving to the West Coast because I was so in fear. Had already started packing boxes and writing in the corner of the boxes my name. So I knew when it was time to go, I just knew what boxes I could pick up and leave. Got a protection order, got everything in the courts. The money that our house went unconditional. All our bank accounts were frozen. And I wrote him a Dear John letter. It was sitting on the kitchen bench. And I'd already moved out. He'd come in from fishing and out of Nelson at that stage. Went to use his EFTPOS card and it declined, and it was the bank manager told him that I was leaving him.
That's massive.
And you know what? It was all about my own safety.
And you had if there's going to be a positive out of that, you had the education and the resources to be able to do that.
Yeah. And then actually not at that time. It was my intuition. And then obviously I left and then I decided I wanted to help other women in similar places. That's what caused me to study counselling.
Yep.
And then obviously worked counselling, did that work for like 10 or 12 years. But it was really my intuition. I'd lied to myself for so long around my own spiritual connection. It was that kept me safe. My knowing. My deep down gut knowing.
And listening.
And listening to her.
To it.
And not going, she'll be right, mate.
Yeah.
Not going, oh, my God, I've just got flowers today.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, we're flying on a plane flying to Australia for the weekend. They were just ways to groom me to keep me here. Shit, I've never spoken to this. Well, I have, but probably not on the radio.
Yeah, we don't want pauses when we're talking on the radio, but that does really cause me to reflect, and I worry a lot. It makes me worried about all the people out there, all the women out there who are going through what you went through, or who are going to, and they don't even know that yet, or the young women who don't know that that's what's going to happen to them. Or the 9-year-olds who are out there having a great time at school today in the sunshine, and they don't realise that when they're 20 they're going to get into a relationship and that's going to start. I worry for them. I worry for the teens at the moment who are already starting to
feel sexual pressure.
That, yep, and feel manipulated. And I worry for the women, of course, who are in that situation right now as we're talking. And I think that's what probably keeps me going as well, really.
Yeah.
That I'm a list writer. I'm really organised. I'm really practical. I am known for, that thing, if you want a job done, you ask a busy person. I'm that person. And that's what enables me to get through so much work and to get all those donations out. I've got a van outside. Her name's Jan the van. And she's always full of stuff and we're delivering it here and there. And what enables me to do that is to actually, this sounds a little bit heartless, but I have to detach a little bit because otherwise I would not be able to. I'd be a mess.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, because I, in that space, had actually detached from my own story.
That's how
I coped.
Got the work done.
Spirituality, my connection to the spiritual world was what kept me safe and sane, because when I was present in my physical world, I had to own stuff. I had to sit with how it really was.
That's hard.
And that's where I think, the illusion that we have is when we're hit, or, the illusion how what family violence is painted isn't actually what it really is.
No.
And that's what we have to start changing and having the conversations about, because it actually starts. The warning signs don't start with the first hit. The warning signs start with, "Hi, honey, you can't, I'm ready to go out. Oh, no, you can't wear that." That's actually, hello. When someone says that to me now, I go, well, you know what? You're not coming out with me, brother.
Yep.
See you later.
And talking about it with people, friends that you trust, kick-ass friends, you might mention a couple of things, and if they turn around to you and say, get a lawyer, that might be all you need to suddenly go, oh, this is serious, this is a big deal. I also like to think of our whānau before us, our grandmothers, our mothers, our great-grandmothers, all the generations before us who are very wise, and they'll have seen all of this as well. It's
not a new
gone
thing.
On for a while. And the men, the positive men in our lives, and in the generations before this, all of them looking on and knowing that we have the energy in ourselves to make a difference, but we do have to do it. And I like to think of, when I feel down or stressed, I do like to think of the people in my family from previous generations. Just like when we're at home with our babies and it's 3 a.m. and we think we're the only ones up feeding them and the world seems quite desolate. Actually, there are millions of women around the world doing the same thing, just like our mothers and our grandmothers did. So we're not isolated. And it's the same with this. There are millions of women who know a bit about what you're going through, or a lot about what you're going through, and have been through there before, and they're willing you to get out as well.
And I think that's where it comes back to. We just need to give ourselves permission to ask for help, to be okay about being vulnerable, to not know what that looks like, but just to step out and ask. Because I believe soul-heartedly that when we come from a space of asking or, you know, the right people, the right resources will show up.
Yep.
They always do.
And there are amazing organisations out there who can help. And they're not, you know, sitting behind a desk waiting for you to come in the front door, being all official. These are beautiful groups of people who are very skilled and understanding and very much non-judgy. And so I feel lucky that I get to work with all those people as well. We work with 4 women's refuges, but we also work with places like Ngā Matawaka, Te Puna Oranga, He Wakatapu, YWCA. Even over lockdown, we started working with Chomley and providing children with toys and games. There's a huge number of quite diverse organisations out there who work with different parts of the community so that it's the right fit. Mm-hmm. And it is just asking for help. And they've made it pretty easy as well, you know. There's all the resources online and, yeah.
So, oh my God, this has been a big conversation. Mm-hmm. So, your work on your webpage aligns with Araha Support and Hope. Mm-hmm. Is there anyone right now, the people listening to this podcast that aren't connected to those things? What advice would you give to them?
So we have 2 kind of mottos. That's one of the slogans. And then we have this unofficial one that we have to be careful who we say it in front
of. Oh, no, just say it, I've been given permission.
So we don't take shit, but we get shit done. And that combined with the aroha, love and support. One is the kind of nice, warm, fuzzy hug, demonstrating to Christchurch that we're a supportive community and that there is help out there. The way I think that's summed up is that when we deliver things, when we deliver furniture to a woman who's moving into a new home out of transitional housing and she needs new stuff because of what's happened to all her old stuff, it's been smashed or worse, just awful things happen to it, that we really like to tell them that the stuff came from the community, from people who really cared. The quality's good, very, very tidy, and that the wider community out there, the Christchurch Aunties community, is thinking about her. Now, they don't know her personally, but they are sending all the vibes through this very practical stuff. They just want her to get on her feet, to have some beds for her children, and to be warm tonight. And that's where that motto kind of comes into it. It's the warm, fuzzy hug, even though that woman doesn't know necessarily any of the people who donated the stuff. There's this unspoken kind of
connection.
It is. And the other one is that we get shit done, is that we're really busy doing all this stuff and getting those filing cabinets out to those organisations. That was my job this morning. And to get the toiletries in and to go and pick up the blankets and to do all of this and to do all of that. And, you know, that's both those are relevant to us.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think it's the get shit done. It's the practical shit.
Yeah.
It's the practical shit that people need, that when they're in crisis or when they're in life's just been flipped upside down and they feel quite powerless, sometimes the practical stuff, the blanket, the hot water bottle, the whatever it is actually, it's like, oh my God, someone actually cares.
Yeah. Yep.
Someone's actually, I don't have to worry about that when I've got A, B, C, D, and I'm actually don't even want to be in public today because I'm emotional and can't hold it together. Mm-hmm.
And even safety-wise, we have a safety fund for security cameras, emergency flights, and that might be emergency flights for a person or for an animal if they need to get their cat or dog out as well, and safelets.
Yeah, I saw that on your webpage,
Oh, and mobile phones, because they also have to work with the safelets. And we've had security cameras that have the footage has been used so the police can prosecute.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you could imagine if that's just a huge relief for women who are feeling very vulnerable in the community to have a dependable phone or security camera on their property just to check who's coming and going. So it feels really good to be able to provide those really practical, get shit done kind of donations.
Yeah.
But, they're $300 each, so
That's the
we
thing.
have to work hard on that, yep.
Is there anything else that you want to tell our listeners?
Oh, gosh.
Any question, any burning desire that you need to speak to that I haven't asked?
It's funny because I talk all the time. And then when you put me on the spot, my husband's going to go, ha, ha, ha. You can't think of anything. I think what I'd like to say, and this is what I see every day, is that the moment you make the decision to stop judging, the moment you decide, and you do have to decide, and you do have to practice and work on it and work on it and work on it. As soon as you've made that decision and that commitment, it is incredible what happens. You become vulnerable in a good way. You suddenly start learning a whole lot more stuff. You stop taking things personally, and you can provide huge support out there in the community. And we're not talking, you don't have to donate a whole lot of money, but you would be surprised at the difference that one person can make just by dropping that judgment. Mm-hmm. And that's what we say. To be a Christchurch Auntie, you have to be kind and non-judgy. That's it. If any of the listeners out there are kind and non-judgy, you are by default Christchurch Aunties. So welcome. Welcome to our team.
It has that ripple effect, doesn't it?
Yep.
And that's the thing. And for those of you that are struggling with judgment, there's an amazing book by Gabby Bernstein. So I'm just going to put this in here called Judgment Detox.
Oh,
go find it. So I know that there will be some phenomenal listeners, amazing people listening to this today that will be going, how the hell do I find these people and how can I help? So what is it, Heather, that you need?
Okay. So the first thing, if you are on Facebook, we do a lot of our communication on Facebook, and that is Facebook.com/Christchurch Aunties. I think that one works. But you can also go to our website, which is chchaunties.org.nz. That's chchaunties.org.nz. And that'll direct you also to the Facebook page. And the Facebook page is where we put requests out for what we need, whether it's we need more pamper gifts for women, or we need more queen sheets. Actually, we do need some queen sheets at the moment. So that's where you can find our regular needs of donations.
So just so we're clear, are we talking flannelette queen sheets or cotton?
Probably at the moment cotton. And the thing is, with second-hand things, they have to be freshly washed, free of stains, very clean and tidy. And it would be great also if you folded them and labelled the bag on the size. Otherwise, we have to measure everything. It gets a bit time-consuming. So we do need queen sheets at the moment. But different times of the month we'll need all different sorts of things. New is amazing. Briscoe's always have a sale on. Go to Briscoe's, stock up for us. That'd be great. But we also have people who share our ideas and information, and we'd love you to do that because we keep things on the down low because we don't have a huge marketing budget. In fact, we don't have a marketing budget. So all our promotions and communications is kind of organic, and that's how we keep everyone engaged because it's only the cool people who are Christchurch Aunties and who connect with the other cool people, and that's where the cool people hang out. We are also at a higher strategic level. We've just moved into a big new space, which is a game changer for us. And we are growing. So we also are looking for corporate and business partners who might like to partner with us and do some volunteering and looking for corporate sponsorship for some of that operational stuff. We do funding applications, and we have an incredible donation pile from our wider community. But we'd also like to connect with corporates as well, which we've just started doing. But I think, we need to be sustainable. We need to think forward of where we're going. And it's nice to involve genuine businesses as well. And there are quite a few of them out there. It's really lovely who we've been recently working with. So, yeah, connect with us. Ask us if we need anything. Asking is a really big deal. It's good to ask if we need things before just dropping them off at our drop-off points. Those drop-off points are on our website. If you message us on Facebook, it's me who will be responding. So I always sign off as Heather M, and so I'm the one that you'll see mostly around that area. But yeah, I think there's probably lots of things that we need all the time, but we've got a really good coffee machine, so that's covered.
Perfect.
It's obviously an important part of my life. So, yeah.
Mine too, girl. So, for those of you listening, like the Christchurch Aunties Facebook page. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for your insightful conversation. And please, if you're in a position to support Christchurch Aunties through time, money, or their requests, I know that this organisation would be so grateful to receive this. For those of you listening that need to ask for help, please contact Women's Refuge 0800 733 843. They support women and children. It's not okay. 0800 456 450. It's an info helpline that anyone can call and receive advice on how to help a family member, a friend, a neighbour. If you're in danger immediately, please call 111. I'm going to leave these final words to the Scorpion Princess story in the book Her Say. Now it's time to find out who I am and just love me for myself. And I haven't done this before. Please give yourself permission to say yes to you, to your community, and to the people that you can help. That's how we will change the consciousness of humanity and move forward. Thank you for listening. Love you always, Lily.